Hey, spiritual extremists, it's Dr. Lloyd-Moffett here in the Blue Star Memorial Temple. And this is Helena Blavatsky. This is an image of the founder of Theosophy. And when she started this movement with Henry Steele Olcott, she had an ingenious idea. She says, most religions say that when you die, you don't cease to exist. And so why not find the great spiritual heroes of every tradition who must still exist in the spirit realm and ask them, what is it that humanity needs to know about religion? And so when she and Henry Steele Olcott went to India, they searched out the spiritual communication techniques that would allow them to converse with Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad and all those great heroes that came before them to try to create this meta religion. They called that group the Himalayan Brotherhood. At one point, they called it the Akashic Record. The Akashic Record, Akasha, is a word that means the heavens or the clouds. So those spiritual heroes, those spiritual experts, those spiritual masters of the past who could relay to humanity a more mature version that could unite all humanities. That was Blavatsky's idea. Now, to return to mysticism, we started off with purgation, or we started off with awakening, then we went to purgation. The third stage is illumination. And here is where you begin to really taste the mystical experience, where you gain knowledge, but not in the formal and dry sense, but rather the experiential sense. You might call it, you have the first taste of gnosis, true illumination. And this is where you were like, yes, this is real. This is something that is going to excite me and fuel me. This is why people start down the path of the mystical experience. Now, it's not a fully mature version now, but you begin to taste the fruits of both your awakening, which was led to desire, and the purgation that led you to create the room to begin to have mystical experiences. But this stage is a little bit like the honeymoon. It's like nothing could go wrong. This is awesome. This all works perfectly. And it's marked with giddy and excitement. Listen to Hildegard of Bingen, one of the most famous of the mystics, female mystics of the medieval period. In this vision, my soul as God would have it, rises up high into the vault of heaven and into the changing sky and spreads itself out among the different peoples, although they are far away from me in different lands and places. Because I see them this way in my soul, I observe them in the shifting of clouds and other created things. I do not hear them with my outward ears, nor do I perceive them by my thoughts in my own heart or by any combination of my five senses, but by my soul alone, while my outward eyes are open. So I've never fallen prey to ecstasy in my visions, but I see it in wide awake day and night. So here's the idea. You have this stage where you're like, nothing could possibly go wrong. And what Underhill noticed was right about that time is when the next stage happens. And she steals a term from St. John of the Cross, a 16th century mystic out of Spain. And he talks about the dark night of the soul. That is just when you think that everything is going well, and it's an unending ascent to the direct encounter with the source. You have this moment where everything seems to fall away. And it's marked by confusion and helplessness and stagnation, a sense of withdrawal, a sense of being away from progress. You're placed into doubt. Listen to St. John of the Cross here. The divine assails the soul in order to renew it, and thus to make it divine. And stripping it of habitual fictions and attachments, the old man, to which it is very closely united, knit together and conformed, destroys and consumes its spiritual substance, and absorbs it in deep and profound darkness. As a result of this, the soul feels itself to be perishing and melting away. In the presence and sight of its miseries, in a cruel spiritual death, even as it had swallowed by the beast and felt itself being devoured in darkness of its belly, suffering such anguish as was endured by Jonas in the belly of the beast of the sea. From this sepulchre of dark death, his knees must abide until the spiritual resurrection it hopes for. So John of the Cross describes a moment where it just seems like you're going backwards, but it is the final test. It is right before the last stage of unselfing, which is the mystical experience. And what Underhill argued was that most religious traditions, most mystical pathways described across religions of the world, suggest that right before you have this final stage, you end up with a period of the dark night of the soul where you lose sight of your goal and you fall backwards for a while. But it's all preparation.